4 anonymous artists from Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse just came out about their working experience on the movie, and it makes me sick to my stomach. I can't believe that this happened. And we're going to talk about today, and we're going to get you up to speed if you don't know what's happening. So, Vulture, fitting name for the villain of the beginning of Across the Spider-Verse. They released an article from 4 animators who chose to remain anonymous from Across the Spider-Verse, and they described their work experience, and it was pretty torturous, as they described. And not just what we're going to talk about today is the work environment and how terrible it was for these animators, but the response from Amy Pascal, the higher up at Sony, who we've talked about on the channel before. My last video about Kraven the Hunter, which if you haven't seen that, you should probably go watch it. We talked about Amy Pascal. She likes to do some questionable things. So she was also involved in this, and her response to the situation is what's really gross to me. I can't believe she said this. Like, it just really makes me upset. And I don't really like to talk about things that are negative. I like to be positive about things. I like to talk about things that I'm excited about. I love being excited for things in the movie industry. But this, I'm not going to let this fly. We got to stop and talk about this because this is big. This is a big deal. Like, this really is something that's important to me, and it's important that we discuss this. So, as I talk through this video and talk about all the details, be sure to let me know down below in the comments what your thoughts on this situation is. We're going to get into it right here. So I will link the article from Vulture down below in the description and in the pinned comment or something if you want to go check out the article for yourself. But the basic gist of it is these 4 animators describe their working experience on the movie, and from the beginning of it, it was mostly Lord and Miller tinkering with the story. So they were I think they said they were inactive for a few months in the beginning of this process, mostly due to COVID delays and that kind of thing, which is understandable. This movie was supposed to come out in 2022, I think, and then it just got delayed a bunch because of COVID and, that kind of thing, which was a big deal at the time. So then these animators said they were inactive while Lord and Miller tinkered with the script. Now, as we know, the tinkering with the story was obviously for the better because the movie has an incredible story, and 99% of the population on planet Earth agrees that this movie is pretty phenomenal. So we're glad that they got to perfect the story and tinker with it and mess around. But also, these animators were not active for a while, so they were just sitting there. And then to make up for the lost time that they weren't working on the movie and not animating things, they said that they had to work as much as 11 hours a day for 7 days a week up to a year to make up for this lost time, and they were sent back to the drawing board as much as 5 times during the final rendering stage of the movie, which if you don't know the stages of animation, first there's the script, then there's layout, then there's animation, then there's final rendering and compositing and all that stuff. There's a lot of stages involved, and the rendering stage is the final stage. So they'd already animated, they'd already laid out the scene, they'd already shot the thing, and they've done all the stuff, and they put all the pieces together, and the rendering stage is the final piece of the puzzle. So being in the rendering stage, they had to go back to the drawing board as many as 5 times. Now, animated movies tend to go over budget, they tend to go over time. They do, by the end of it, they really are working as hard as possible to ensure that the movie is the best they can possibly be. This movie was on a budget of $100 million, which is half of what Pixar's Elemental movie was on. And you don't hear any animators talking about the grueling work schedule for that. But that just goes to show how inventive and innovative and creative the Across the Spider-Verse animation style and movie as a whole really is, because it takes so much work, so much heart and soul, and it clearly shows on the screen because the movie is phenomenal. It's a piece of art. Every single frame, waking second of this movie, which is 24 frames per second, sometimes it fluctuates because of the creative artistry that these animators had. It's a beautiful piece of cinema, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. But to get there, we had to go through all of this 11 hours a day for 7 days a week, 77 hours of work a week for a year. That's what they said, up to a year. That's crazy. And again, it's not super uncommon for animated movies to get over budget, go over time, that kind of thing. That kind of thing happens quite a bit, like it's happened with Puss in Boots, I heard, and all this other stuff. It definitely happened with the first movie, Into the Spider-Verse, since that was the first of its kind. So this kind of stuff is not super uncommon, but it still is terrible that these animators have to go through this, that they have to experience this kind of work schedule, because they have families that they're being away from. They have all these people who are in their life that they want to be with, and they're working 11 hours a day, 7 days a week for up to a year. That's a terrible work schedule. And they said that they're just the film had 4 directors, and they said Phil Lord was kind of overtaking a lot of them, which I don't think that's much to do with the work schedule. That's kind of how it goes sometimes. Phil Lord is 50% of the major creative force behind this movie. Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the dynamic duo. So that's not a huge deal. But what is a huge deal is over 1,000 artists were signed on to work on this movie, and 100 of them fled the scene after they had to deal with this work schedule. That's kind of crazy. That's not good. And the Sony higher up, Amy Pascal, Sony producer Amy Pascal, who I'm disliking more and more the more words I hear come out of her mouth nowadays. Amy Pascal says, one thing about animation that makes it so great is that you can keep going back and editing it until the story gets it right. If the story isn't right, you have to keep going until it is. And then, to the animators who complained and felt demoralized for having to go back to the drawing board as much as 5 times, she says to those people, and these are her words here, well, I guess, welcome to making a movie. I'm sorry, but no. What? I can't accept that. I can't accept that. You know why I can't accept that? Because I didn't work on the movie. I didn't work on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I've never animated a feature film. I've never been in the industry to know what the grueling hard work and pain that these artists and animators have to go through to make these movies. But I am always beyond amazed at the level of talent that these animators and artists possess. They're doing, such incredible work. And we all know, because we see it on the screen in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It looks incredible. It is absolutely amazing. And when you're watching it, what you're thinking is this took so much hard work. These 1,000 animators. The Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, I believe, had the biggest crew of animators in history for an animated movie. These guys poured their heart and souls into this movie, and they made it just this most beautiful piece of cinema, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. I absolutely love this movie to death. I love every second of it. And for the producer, Amy Pascal, who did not animate any of this movie, and I'm sure she's done incredible work on her own. Like, the fact that she's able to build to the ranks of where she is right now, it's great. I know, I'm sure she does hard work as a producer. Producer is a different thing because you have to manage money and all that stuff. I'm not discrediting her work, but for her to discredit the work, she says, welcome to making a movie. And this story does not happen when you make a movie. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting, offended at something I shouldn't be offended about. And I'm not offended, but I'm just like, really? That's your response? Well, I guess welcome to making a movie. These people have been in the industry working on tons of animated films for up to 5 years to decades of hard work in the animation industry. And she says, well, I guess welcome to making a movie. So she just completely discredited the complaints of these people who are rightfully complaining about this work schedule. Like I said, the final product is absolutely incredible. And what Amy Pascal said is true. You have to make sure the story is right. You have to do as much work as you can to make the story right. But then when these animators are complaining, and animators are some tough breed people. Animators are really tough individuals. They're the top, they're the best of the best. These guys painstakingly working every single frame of this movie, which again, there's 24 frames approximately per second in this 2 hour and 16-minute movie. That's a ton of frames, and each one is painstakingly perfected. And for Amy Pascal to say, well, I guess welcome to making a movie, and kind of discrediting all of this hard work that these animators have spent years of their life, poured, again, their heart and souls into perfecting every single frame of this movie. For her to say something like that, discredit those complaints, say, well, this is what making a movie is, so you just gotta deal with it. No. We're creating art here, but we're not sacrificing the integrity of the people who are working on these movies. Art is, I believe, one of the most important things on planet Earth. It connects people, it inspires people, it creates and stirs up all these incredible emotions inside of humans, and it's the privilege that humans have to create art and connect with others and experience these real emotions and put them on the screen is, I think, just one of the most incredible honors in the world. I believe that art is one of the most important things on the entire planet. But if we're going to have this work schedule, if this is what it takes to produce art, it's not worth it. It's not. It's one of the most important things in the world, but this movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my 16 years of life. It's not worth this. And it's definitely not appropriate of Amy Pascal to say something like that to these animators. And I don't know the story. I don't know what this work-life schedule is compared with other animated movies or even Into the Spider-Verse. But the fact that 100 animators left, that's a big deal. This is a big deal. This is something to at least be taken seriously. It really matters that these animators are having to go through this, because when you look at a movie and you see those credits roll and we're waiting for the end credit scenes, all of these animators who every single one of them has a life, they have a family, they have people who care about them, people who they had to be away from for so much time in order to create this beautiful thing that you just had to sit down and look at a big screen for 2 hours and 16 minutes. You don't read any of those names. They just go across the screen, they scroll up, and you might catch a few. But these guys have poured so much hard work into this movie. And for Amy Pascal to say that, like, it's not worth it. It's not. I believe art is one of the most important things in the world, but it's not worth this. Like, the actors, the directors, the writers, they get all the credit. Oh, look at this. We often forget about all the 1,000 people who poured their heart and soul into creating a masterpiece, something that they believed in, something that they trusted was going to have an impact with audiences, and something that they really were invested so much time and a chunk of their life into. You always see at the bottom of these animated movies, they dedicate babies who were born during the production of this movie. Babies. Like, people had children born during the production of Across the Spider-Verse that they had to be away from because they trusted that this was going to be something that was going to be impactful. Now, are the artists probably fairly getting paid for their work? Yes, the movie just crossed $500 million at the box office. I don't know how much they're getting paid, if they're getting paid enough for all this hard work that they did. I'm sure they are, probably. So I'm sure it's not something to get too worked up about, but it's something that we're not just going to brush over. I'm not just going to let this one fly. Like, say, oh, okay, move on. And I'm sure there's probably going to be some people who say it, but like, I'm just a 16-year-old kid with 350 subscribers, 400 subscribers on the YouTube channel, and I'm going to get a couple thousand views on this video, and it's not going to really do anything or impact the industry in any way. But I would like to at least put it out there, my opinions on this situation, because I don't think this is just something that should be taken lightly. Because one of the animators also said that Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is going to release on March 21st, 2024, that's the current release date set by Sony, he says there's no way they're going to make that release date because they've barely started working on Beyond the Spider-Verse. What we were told is that they were working on Beyond the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse at the same time. That's why they were so close together. But this animator said that basically they just had to invest all of their work into making Across the Spider-Verse as amazing as it could be, and they have barely done any kind of testing for Beyond the Spider-Verse. What I hope doesn't happen, and what might happen, is Sony's going to push. They're going to say, hey, you got to make this release date of March 21st, 2024 because we got to make this release date. And these animators are saying, we can't do that. We can't put in 11 hours a day for 7 days a week to make this movie come out when you want it to come out, because the release date cannot overtake the art itself. And I know I have presence on the internet, I have comment sections, I've connecting with people, I'm pretty aware of what the general opinion is on this stuff. All of us are in agreement. The audience, the customers, the people who are giving our hard-earned dollars to the Sony and Sony Pictures Animation and Marvel Studios for this thing to happen, us who are giving our money to them and the reason these movies exist, we are all in agreement. All of us are sitting here saying, hey, we are willing to wait as long as it takes. We'll wait 10, 15, 20 years for this movie, as long as it's the best product that it can possibly be. The best piece of art and the best piece of cinema that this movie can possibly be. We don't care how long it takes these animators, how long they have to take to perfect their craft and make this piece of cinema as best as it can possibly be. We'll wait as long as it takes, just to make sure that it's good. And we're not going to take some half-baked, rushed-out piece of, just so then Sony can meet a release date. And Amy Pascal can say, well, welcome to making a movie. Just go make the movie. I'm definitely not going to support this work environment, and I'm not going to support this type of schedule if it happens for Beyond the Spider-Verse. We're going to wait as long as it takes. And I'm pretty sure anyone who's watching this video is in agreement with me. We are willing to wait as long as it takes. We don't need Beyond the Spider-Verse to come out this very instant. If it were up to me, I would have the movie released tomorrow. But I know that these animators who are pouring their heart and souls into this movie, they're getting it done. They're doing the hard work. They're in the trenches. They're working as hard as they can to make this as beautiful as it possibly can be because, as I said, they believe in it. They've read the scripts and they think this is something that's going to have a huge impact on millions of people and inspire and connect people everywhere. And they trust that. So they're willing to put apart segments and parts of their lives to pour into this movie to make it awesome. And that's what art is. We'll wait as long as it takes. We are in no rush to see this movie. I mean, we're in a rush because the movie Across the Spider-Verse ended on such a huge cliffhanger and we want to see the next part as soon as possible. But we're going to wait. We're going to wait as long as it takes because we want the best product possible. And I know that everyone who's watching this video is in agreement with me. 100%. Except for the 5 people who are on planet Earth who say the movie was mid for some reason. Which we accept all opinions, even the bad ones. So art is a supplement to life. Life is not a supplement to art. Art is not the end-all, be-all. We still have animators have lives outside of making art. That they have kids and families and all this stuff that they need to attend to. So we're going to wait as long as it takes. So there you go. There's the story basically. Again, you can read the article for yourself and get your own opinions on what this is going to be, because I never want you to take my word for it. Always do your own research, come to your own opinion, decide for yourself what you think about this issue, and then let me know down below in the comments. And if you disagree with me, that's even better, because we can discuss and we can get to the bottom of why we disagree, and we can figure out why exactly we think the way we do, and we can come to agreements on that. So disagreement is fun and it's awesome. If we were all the same, life would be very boring. So comment down below what your thoughts on this situation is, and are you hyped for Beyond the Spider-Verse? Because I know I am, but I'm not too hyped to where I'm going to pressure these animators to have a very stressful and unhealthy work life. So I hope you guys will continue to watch my videos and you will subscribe. I hope you will subscribe. That would be awesome, because then you can see my videos as soon as they come out. If you want to see another video by me, probably my Spider-Verse review, I'd be guessing, you can click right here on my face. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.